Hey guys, it's Aaron Kushler and welcome to another video from EBSC. Today I'm following on from my last video, how to start strongman training while still doing CrossFit. So firstly, if you haven't seen that video already, make sure you go and watch that. You can view that video by clicking just up here. In this video, we're going to look extensively at strongman carries, and here's what we're going to cover. So first off, what are the different types of carries and what are the benefits of doing those? Number two, when and why should you use them? Number three, easy progressions that you can do to make them a little bit more challenging. Number four, protocols for strength, endurance, and conditioning. So how to go about actually starting to formulate a bit of a program and a bit of a process. So we're going to cover that extensively. And then examples of how to fit them into your training plan. So a weekly plan, where to plot them in depending on what you're doing with the rest of your training. So we have a lot to get through, but if you've wanted to incorporate strongman into your program, this video is going to be really helpful to you. So as you can see, we've got a pretty extensive list of different exercises up on the board. What I've done to make it a little bit easier for you to understand and wrap your head around all of these is group them together into similar loading patterns. What I've done here in green, I've got all the front loaded carries. So basically anything that you're holding in the front of your body. In the yellow, I've got all the axle loading carries that you can do. So pretty much thinking anything that is in line with the spine that we're carrying, it will fall into this category here. And then finally in the red up here, we've got all the carries that involve you actually having to use your hands to hold onto the implements, usually by your sides. Let's take a quick look at each of them and the benefits that each have. First up, in the green category, we have Zercher carries. So Zercher carries, you're holding the implement in the crook of your arm, so in your elbows while you're carrying it. These are a really tough carry on the core and the upper back especially, but are a really great substitute if you struggle with back rack yoke carries, especially due to shoulder injury or mobility restrictions that you have. You can still get the same benefits using a Zercher carry. Then we have bear hug carries. So basically we're picking up an object, holding it in close to our body, and we're walking for a distance. These offer the same benefits as the Zercher carry, but are often a really simple choice for beginners, especially because they're quite simple and easy to execute. There's nothing that's too difficult with the bear hug carry. Then we have keg carries. Keg carries are going to tax your grip, your upper back, and your whole posterior chain, like all of the front-loaded carries that we're talking about here. Because of the size and the shape of the keg, they're going to offer a really tough workout for your arms and your upper back especially. Then we have plate carries. Plate carries are really good as an alternative to some of the other carries, especially if you don't have special equipment in order to do these. If you've just got some weight plates, these are a really great one to implement. For these, just use the same carry method as you would for all of the rest of the movements, where you're holding the plate against your chest and try to have your hands at 9 and 3. So if you picture the actual plate as a clock face, you want your hands at positions 9 and 3. Then let's move on to the axle loading carries. So the ones in yellow here. First up, we have overhead carries. Now these can be done with a yoke or with a barbell and are really great for shoulder stability and strength. So basically you're locking out the weight above your head and you're walking for distance or for time. Next, we have waiter's walks. Waiter's walks are basically a very similar movement to the overhead carry, just this time we're using one arm instead of two. These are really great if you've got one shoulder that's slightly stronger or more stable than the other. So they're great at balancing out the two and making both shoulders just as strong. And you can do these with kettlebells or dumbbells or even weight plates if you want, if you really want to take waiter's walk quite literally. And lastly, we have yoke carries. Now, yoke carries are probably one of the most recognized strongman movements of all, and they're a really great strength builder all round. The bar sits on your back in the same position as a back squat, and you're just carrying the implement for a set distance. Yoke carries allow you to use very heavy weight, more so than you would with a back squat. So they're really great for building up overall strength and really overloading your body. But if they're done too much and too heavy all the time, they can really drive your CNS into the ground. Lastly, we have the carries that involve you actually having to hang onto the implements with your hands, usually by your side. First up, we have pinch carries. Now, pinch carries are pretty simple. We're grabbing two implements and basically taking our thumb and the rest of our fingers and pinching them together while we're carrying it for distance. These are really great to build up the strength in your forearms as well as in your hands. Next, we have farmer's carries. Farmer's carry we went through extensively in the previous video, but these are one of the best overall strength builders that you can do. Holding two implements, one in each hand by your side and walking allows you to go much heavier than you can with the pinch carry, which is going to train your grip, your back, your arms, your legs, your whole body is going to get a workout from farmer's carries. And farmer's carries are actually really great for helping to balance out any imbalances between right and left. Then we have suitcase carries. These are really great to build core strength, mainly in the obliques. They also make a great warm-up drill prior to doing any barbell movements, as they'll activate all the muscles of the core before you start lifting. And then lastly, we have one of my personal favorites, the wheelbarrow walk. Now, it sounds really simple in nature, and it is, but don't let that fool you. They're really effective and really hard when you do these really heavy. These are fantastic to build up your posterior chain, your grip, arms, legs, pretty much everything that the farmer's carry will build up, and they can be done almost anywhere. The best part is they make a great alternative to the farmer's carries if you don't have access to the actual handles, as you can still load it up really heavy and you can still get the same benefits. Okay, so now that we know what some of the carries are and the benefits of each of them, let's look at how we can apply them. On the board here, we've got three main outcomes. We've got strength, endurance, and then conditioning. Now, these all use a percentage of your maximum weight for each of the loading protocols. This is obviously similar to your 1RM with your barbell lifts. If you wanted to test out your max, the common distance is 100 feet or 30 meters. The max is then the most weight that you can carry across that distance without dropping it. Then if we actually take a look at the board, and we're going to be using carries for strength, so obviously getting stronger, we're going to be going short distances, so 15 to 40 meters, so nothing too long here. We're going to be using the heavy weights, so 85 to 100% of your max. So whatever you've worked out across 30 meters, this is what you're going to be using, a percentage of that. We're going to have long rest periods, so 2 to 3+ minutes. Really resting as needed and coming back to it when you feel ready to go. And if we take a look at an example, so we'd have 3 to 5 sets of 30 meters using 90% of our max. Then if we take a look at endurance, so obviously we're working with longer distances this time. We're going 100 to 800 meters. This isn't locked in concrete. These are guidelines that you can use. We're going with lighter weights, so 40 to 50% of your 1RM. So don't make it too heavy, because if you take any heavier than 50% for 800 meters, it is going to drive you into the ground. So we want to be using a weight that is going to challenge us but not kill us. And we're going low rest in between breaks. So if you go to do an 800 meter set, so as we said, longer distance, 800 meters, you've taken 50%. So let's say you're doing a bear hug carry, you get down to 200 meters and you have to drop it. That's okay. You can drop it and you can have a short rest period. So we're going under a minute before you can pick it up again and continue. If we look at an example of this, it might be an 800 meter finisher at the end of your workout. So you might be using, let's just say, for example, 2 kettlebells, and you're going to do an 800 meter farmer's carry. So hanging onto those kettlebells as long as you can and trying to make the full distance without having to put them down. And then lastly, we've got conditioning. This one's a little bit of a different mix. You've got a lot more play with this one, obviously, because we're getting a conditioning effect, but we're looking for moderate to long distance. So anywhere in the vicinity of about 30 to 200 meters. So in that sort of range is what we're dealing with here. We're looking for moderate weight. So 60% of our max that we worked out. And then we're going to manipulate the rest intervals. So this is where you get the conditioning effect. You shorten the rest periods. We're using a moderate loading and we're using moderate distance. So it's going to create you to have to huff and puff. If we have a look at an example of that, what that's going to look like is something like an EMOM for 10 minutes. So every minute on the minute for 10 minutes, you're going to do 30 meters with 60% of your max. So what you might do is take a yoke, load it up with 60%. You're going to do 30 meters every minute. That's a simple way to get a conditioning effect with something like a carry. And another good one you can do with your friends, if there's a group of you doing this, mark out a distance of 200 meters, grab an odd object, something like a dead ball where you're having to carry it in front. The deal is you've got to do 200 meters by yourself as fast as you can, so carrying it for the 200 meters. You want to use a weight that's heavier than what you're used to, so something that's going to really challenge you. Mark out roughly 20-meter intervals. The deal is you can only stop at each 20-meter interval, so if you fall short of that, you have to go back to the previous 20-meter mark and then start again. It gets really tough really fast, but I'm telling you, it'll be a really great conditioning tool. All right, guys, so now we know what all the different carries are, what the benefits are, and we know the loading protocols in order to use them. So now let's take a look at how that actually ties in with the training that you might be doing throughout the week. So what I've done behind me is giving you a 3-day example of what you might typically find when you go into training. So we'll start with day 1. Let's just say you go in and the strength work for the day is 8 sets of 3 at 80%. You're then going to follow that up with a 21-15-9 deadlifts and handstand push-ups. On this day, because we've done a heavy squat, we're going to follow that up with something like an endurance carry. So we've chosen a 200-meter bear hug carry with the dead ball. So you're grabbing a weight that is reasonably heavy for you and carrying that the full 200 meters, trying not to let it drop for that 200 meters. If we move on to day 2, we go in day 2 and our strength work is 15 minutes to find a 3 RM on the strict press. Then we've got for time a 500 meter row, 40 squats, 30 sit-ups, 20 push-ups, and 10 pull-ups. All right, so after this day, we have a little bit of a break. We're feeling pretty good. We could probably do some more conditioning after that. So to finish off this day, we're gonna go with an EMOM for 10 minutes of 30 meters of a farmer's walk with 60% of our max. If we jump into day 3 and we have a look across here, our strength movement, we start off every 2 minutes. For 10 minutes, we're going to do 3 power snatches. Then we're going to go into every 2 minutes for 10 minutes, we're going to do 3 hang cleans. And then your Metcon for the day might be a 2K row. So for time, we're doing a 2K row. Finish off that day, we're going to use a strength carry and we're going to choose the yoke carry. We're going to be going 4 sets of 30 meters at 85% of our 1 RM. So there you have it. Now you can start using this information to add strongman carries into your program and see the benefits yourself. I regularly use these protocols myself and with my clients as part of my online coaching program, the 10X Strength Project. I've seen jumps in my strength and conditioning for both myself and my clients as a result. If you want to start using this type of training and see some of the results that we are, you might be a great fit for the 10X Strength Project. To apply, just click on the link down below in the description. And of course, if you liked this video and you got a lot out of it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel and share it with a friend. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.